Hey guys, it is Tuesday, it's 12, you know the drill. That means it's AMA, and today I am particularly pumped up for this, super animated, because I'm coming right off of the tail end of giving a speech last week on this topic, and I was so excited about it that, and I've had so many questions about this that I cannot wait to share it with you guys, because so often I think we pay a lot of attention to the standard social media channels out there. I'm talking about Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, the heavy hitting three. Now Snapchat's moving into the fold. They're all great, guys. Listen, not for nothing. They're fantastic. Absolutely, you want to be there. They have mass, they have critical mass. But I'm going to move the conversation over and let's talk about some dark social media channels that you may not even be aware of, but can explode your business way faster than any of these traditional foundational social media platforms. So we're going to roll through what those are. We're going to give you some examples of how people just like yourselves, even right here from Baltimore where I'm based, are using these channels and how they have exponentially increase their business by using them. The trick here, guys, is they're looking in places you're not looking, and they're getting niche markets that you're not getting, and guess what? They are not getting overwhelmed doing it because they're not lost in the noise of the typical platforms. This was, like I said, by far my favorite part of my BBJ presentation that I gave, because I know people got so much out of it, and I cannot wait for you to as well. So let's start off with just adjusting our mindset and even addressing things that we may not think of as social media. And I'm going to start with a platform called Quora, Quora. Let's talk about Quora. Quora is a question and answers platform. People go in there, they put a Q down, and they are waiting for A's. And you have a lot of heavy-hitting C-level execs that are on this platform as they're digging through looking for questions about product development, technology, and new trends. Here's how you make it worth your time. You go in there, you set up a profile, and set yourself up a Google alert that says Quora, and then follow it with any kind of keyword that is registered to your industry. So I might go in and I set up a Google alert that comes straight to my inbox, and it says Quora branding tactics. What it's going to do is pull up all of the Quora threads of people asking questions about branding tactics. This is like shooting fish in a barrel. Guys, if a long time ago, before social media came around, somebody said, hey, we're going to get this forum and a bunch of your target prospects are going to be sitting there asking questions about your industry, and you can just go in there and establish your credibility and move the relationship offline, I bet you would say, I'm jumping into that. But again, not a lot of people are paying attention to it. Not a lot of people even realize that that is social media. It is 100% social media. It's a social platform. People are on it. They're asking great questions, and they are wanting the expertise and the advice that you have. They're lost. They're stuck. They need you. Get in there and help them out. I have met people, I've not met, actually, let me just qualify and be really straightforward. I've read about a lot of people who have built phenomenal businesses by just going in there. People in the tech space, marketing, any kind of service provider, tax, accountants, get in there, they're asking questions, should I do LLC or S Corp? Latch yourself onto that conversation, build rapport, and then go ahead and move the conversation offline. It is the best prospect qualification you can get on social media. It's teed right up for you. So Quora is number one. It's a great one. Number two, podcasts. Okay, we all are familiar with podcasts. Chances are you're a part of the demographic that listens to them. I love them. I do a lot of driving, and I have dead time in the car. Let's talk about podcasts, because I think they're a little underrated to those who are not that familiar with it. Podcasts are amazing. If you were to say, hey, I have a social media platform that for an hour while somebody's driving, they're not paying attention to anything else except what you're saying, you'd be all over that. Think about all the other social media channels. You are fighting for their attention as they're quickly flipping through their feed. In podcasts, you have uninterrupted one-on-one time with your listeners. Here's how you make it work for you. You don't have to start a podcast. Really, I know it sounds like a lot of work to get one up and going. I've even dabbled with the idea myself. We're going to move into it because I'm already recording these shows. Might as well repurpose the content. But that aside, because I know that putting out a podcast seems like this huge Herculean task, you don't have to do it. Get to be a guest on a podcast and niche in on your industry. So there are podcasts that exist exactly for the segment that you service. Here's the trick. You want to know your customer base, and you want to know them like the back of your hand. You want to know what they're listening to, and it will pay off tenfold. So here's a story of actually somebody I met, and I love this kid. Like he and I got coffee last week, and I was so lit up by his business. I just thought it was fantastic. His name is Brandon Hall. He's from Baltimore. Anybody that's watching, if you know Brandon, go ahead, write a comment, let him know I'm shouting him out. I already told him because I think what he's done has been remarkable. So he was working for Ernst & Young, and he was like done with the corporate job. He looked at the next like 20 to 30 years of his life being a qualified Excel data entry analyst at Ernst & Young and was like, no way, this cannot be what I'm up to for the next 20 years. So he went on this website called Bigger Pockets, and it's for real estate investors, and he really wanted to approach it from, how do I get out of these corporate shackles? So real estate investing obviously provides a lot of freedom for people. A lot of people I'm connected to are real estate investors. Great business model if you know what you're doing. So he was on biggerpockets.com, and he would see all of these questions come through from investors about what to do financially, tax-wise, accounting. It's a huge cash flow business. You got a lot of streams of money you're working with. So he just got in there and started answering questions. Then he went to the founders of Bigger Pockets and said, hey, you have one CPA writing for you guys. You really need two based on your traffic. They let him be that guy. Then, after he started writing, they asked him to be on their podcast, Bigger Pockets Podcast. Check it out. You can find the episode actually with him on it. Guys, he went from 7 leads a week to over 250 from one appearance on a podcast. That's right, one appearance on a niche podcast. One time, his business exploded. He had to scale it up. He had to bring people on. He had to hire somebody just to handle his prospect inquiries. I loved it. I was like, man, you are doing everything right. You're dabbling in a place where your competition is not. They're all fighting it out on LinkedIn and Facebook, and you're over here making it rain with Bigger Pockets. But there's a trick. He knew his niche, and he knew how to provide incredible service and value for them, establish a rapport, and stay consistent with the platform. So Quora and podcasts are the ones that I'm really going to talk about today, or I have talked about today, but there's a number of them, guys. Yes, Ben, he is. I just was so astounded by him. Ben's got a great model too. Ben Offit is in the comments here. His subscription plans, the way he's packaging everything, he gets it. So those are two platforms that I wanted to draw attention to, but guys, there's a ton of them. So I want to just bring a conversation to light that I had with one of my developers. He is amazing. His name is Jake. He may or may not be watching. Jake is fantastic. Matt Milligan can attest to this. Jake Shop is an amazing developer. If you need a web developer, talk to him. He's really proactive, heavy communication. And he was talking to me about how he can increase his customer base. He said, Kate, many of them are not on social media. They're busy women entrepreneurs. I'm not getting to them through that channel. Here's what I'm going to tell him tomorrow on He and I's one-on-one, and what I'm going to, slip in there now. There are other platforms. They're not necessarily social media, but they will get you leads who are ready to pay. So the biggest one that I use actually to find designers, developers, and outsourced freelance agents is, give me a second, I just pulled it up because I always forget the name, Upwork. Upwork used to be Odesk. They rebranded, now it's Upwork. You can go in and you can actually pitch yourself as a copywriter, designer, developer, set your hourly rate, and people will buy from you. Here's how you make it work for you. Get the relationship on Upwork, do phenomenal work, exceed their expectations, build that rapport, and then move that relationship offline, get them in a retainer basis, and go ahead and build your basis that way. If your client base is not on social media, guys, get creative. If they're not on social, they are online. You just got to figure out where they're at online, because I guarantee you they're looking for what you have to deliver. So those are 3 tactics I want to leave you with today. Again, Quora, podcast, Upwork, but there's a ton of them, guys. There's all these niche sites and blogs, and they're not your conventional social media where you're fighting the bloody shark-infested waters of your competition. You are creating a blue ocean full of fresh fish, and you're fishing where they're swimming. They're already asking. They're looking for somebody like you. So get creative with where you're at and follow one course until successful. Don't try and be in 10 different places at once. Again, like Brandon, he spent a lot of time on one platform, really knocked it out the park, and then built his business from there. So that's what I want to leave you with today. Go out there, get creative with your social media, and make it an awesome Tuesday. I'll see you guys next week, and thank you.